And it's not just you. This isn't an isolated situation that's unique to yourself, but all of us have this same feeling. And we're going to name it right now to norm it, and then we can talk about how we really should process it. So when you were talking about anxiety, and one, the way that you started the message, just going ahead and saying like, man, like what level do I need to be at in my Christian maturity before I can like not have to deal with what other people do? Level 10? What?
Yeah. People have this, as soon as I get, if there was 10 levels, to Christianity, as soon as I get around 7 or 8, that's when anxiety goes away. That's when like negative thinking goes away.
Right.
That's when I become this like force field of strength.
Right. Immune to all of that.
I'm immune to what it is that you guys are dealing with, right? Wow. That's milk. I'm on the meat, wow. That's how people think. And the truth of the matter is it's not true.
Yeah.
And like you say, just kind of opening up the message, just talking about me, right? And just saying, listen, like, even though I do all the things, right? It's not about, ignoring good practices or ignoring positive thinking or ignoring it's all those things you do. That's a part of being a person of faith. And I do all of those things. There are situations that are just not manageable.
Right.
that can come in and try to penetrate what I've been building up.
Right.
And it's not for me to see it as a sign of weakness or not to see it as a sign of like, man, what's wrong with you? Like you haven't been praying. It's not for me to see that as a sign, as to understand like this is why Jesus came.
Right.
Right. This is why I'm saved. It's so that although this is trying to disrupt my peace, I now have a choice to make sure it doesn't.
That's good.
Right.
So that we're not, I don't want to move through that too fast because that is life. Like if there's anything that any believer at any point in their walk needs to know is that this walk of faith is not about avoiding challenge or challenging situations, right? But faith equips you to
manage the unmanageable.
Yeah.
Right. That and faith is actually pushing you to pursue what you cannot manage on your own.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the terms we use on Sunday is just like, man, we live in an interdependent society.
Yeah. Right.
What does that mean? That means that in one way or another, what someone else does is ultimately always going to impact what you do.
Right.
There's no way around that. And because of that, though, we have faith. Because of that, we have Christ, so that we don't have to be subject to what we can't even manage.
I got to get into something. I got to get into this because while you're saying that, I'm just reflecting on the message, and I'm picturing you on the plane, in your seat, going through this process, and coming to the conclusion, well, man, this it's on faith. Like this is on faith, right? I'm up here. I can't put my hands in it. In a little while, I'm gonna be in the air. Can't make a phone call. Decision has to be made. It's on faith. But what I want to get into is even how to have faith, how faith impacts our relating to other people.
Yeah.
Because that's where you were in that moment, right? I mean, I'm going to have faith that, people are going to have to do what God has empowered them to do.
Right. So I do have the privilege of knowing where the message is going. And so, right, in that moment, what really was behind the yes? Right? Because, we also, what we teach here is faith has substance. Right? So it's not that it was like, oh, man, you know what? Let's just see. No, I didn't.
Slow that down. So your faith in this moment is not pulling.
It wasn't a pulling a lever.
Right.
Right. Like
it has substance.
It has substance, and so I'm sitting down in the seat, and I'm like, God, what of substance can I stand on?
That's good.
Not like
right.
I'm just gonna trust God. No,
it's not a wish.
It's not a wish. You. I can't say on that side of things. You grow to maturing in faith to realize my faith requires substance. Right. I don't just go around and say, well, it's not like I'm rolling dice or or pulling levers and saying, let's see what happens. No, I sat there and I grounded myself and I said, God, what of substance can I hold on to? What of substance can help me make a confident decision in this moment? And the simple words came to me. Like, our natural pathway of thinking is to think about the fee before who he's trying to feed. And so when I said, God,
our natural way of thinking causes us to think about the fee before we think about
who he wants to feed.
Right.
And so, of course, obviously, I'm talking about the disciples, right? Jesus wanted to feed the 5,000. They thought about the fee to do it. And he wasn't even trying to use money to get it done.
Right.
But our natural way of thinking is, what's the fee to feed?
Yeah.
What's the fee to do? What's the fee to be?
Right.
And we have to realize you're working with a God who doesn't think about the fee. He thinks about who he's trying to feed.
That's good.
And so when I sat there, God just said to me, Brian, why are you doing this? I said, because the men of God need fellowship. The men of God need to lock hands together and spend some time together, to lean on each other, to pray with each other. He says, don't you think that's something I would love to see? I said, I know it's something you would love to see.
Yeah.
He said, so forget about the fee.
Yeah.
Think about who I'm trying to feed.
Yeah, that's good.
And what am I saying? I'm saying the Bible tells us that any tree in me, anybody who exists in me, not only will you do the works that I do, but it speaks about doing greater works. It's speaking about alignment. It's saying that when I bring my mission and the mission God has for me in an alignment with the mission Jesus walked in, I can expect provision.
That's good.
Like, provision is a response to walking in alignment to the vision Jesus walked into.
I want to make a part of the picture you're painting even more plain. I know there's people that's catching it, but so we're looking at what substance makes up this faith decision. And the first thing that you started to describe is a conversation that you're having with the Lord.
Yeah.
Like, but that in itself is the substance of faith. Like, I don't have to come to this conclusion with my own thinking, my own knowledge.
Yeah.
No, he's speaking to me.
Yes.
Not only do we have the word written, but that was a word in moment, right?
Yeah.
A fresh word from God.
Yeah.
The conversation. I want to break it down to make it even sound less churchy, right?
Yes.
So in that moment, the substance that makes up your faith decision is this relationship, this living, active relationship. Like, right there in that moment, Jesus is talking to you.
And I would say even, like, to go even more detail, acknowledging that what I'm looking to do, Jesus would do.
Got it. That's good.
Right? Like that. Yeah. That's the substance. The real substance was it started with a conversation, but the conversation revealed that this is what Jesus would do.
Yeah.
Like this is a part of what Jesus would be a part of. Why am I saying it this way? Because then I get further substance. Because the Bible tells me that any vine or anybody who's a part of me could expect provision. Like, you can expect the flow to come. You can expect the power to come. If you are walking in the mission that I walked in, you can expect provision the way that I provided then. You can have it now.
Right.
And so it's like, what I had a conversation to say, would Jesus do this? Because if Jesus would do this, then God is for this.
Yeah.
Like, and now I have real substance. So now I have to really evaluate, why are we going? What's going to happen when we get there? Like, what do I believe is going to take place? What did God say is going to, like, I'm getting more and more substance to the decision of faith. It's not a one, I know. And so now it's like our excitement is growing. Yeah. Now, like, my thought patterns are changing. Now I'm getting on the other side of the fee and thinking about who's going to be fed.
Yeah, that's good.
When I started thinking about who's going to be fed, I'm like, oh yeah, Jesus is he's going to support this.
Right.
He's going to support this.
I also see how that leads to healthy thinking. Like, that's a healthier way to think.
Yeah.
Right. Talk on Sunday. You mentioned how one of the first things that faith does is make sure that you're thinking good before you even get to the situation.
Right. It's like, that's the whole point, right? It's about how to live good before it's good.
Yeah.
right? Faith is living good before things even have to be good. Like faith gives me assurance before things changes. Like faith gives me hope before anything appears. Like, faith is such a peaceful state of living. And I say that because a lot of times when you heard faith being described, it sounds like this struggle until God does.
Right.
Faith isn't this struggle you live through until God does something.
Yeah.
Faith is the peace you live in because he's already did everything.
Yeah, that's good.
Like and I'm saying it's because people are like, man, you just have to, use roller phrase. You got to fake it till you make it, or faith it till you make it, or like, man, like, and it sounds like it's just this struggle. It sounds like this is this place of tension you're gonna live into until manifestation comes. It's like faith is this uneasy world you exist in until what you're believing for comes to pass. And it's like, no, it's not. Faith is the peace I get before it even happens. Like faith is the peace I live in even if it doesn't happen. Like it's
because it remains, right? Faith, the peace that he gives remains no matter what is going on.
Faith is what gives me the confidence to keep talking about it when nothing has changed.
Right.
Like man, like it's beautiful. right? Like but it is faith. Man. And we kind of talked about it a little bit. Faith doesn't give us the power to control what's next, but trust God with what's next. And I try to mention that as often as possible. We've been saying that for years now, just to continue to get our people to know that, man, you were taught something that could have misaligned your daily activities. And it's important that we address that because most people were taught a faith that controls what's next, not trust God with what's next. What am I saying? I'm saying that
because if you got control, I mean, that's like one of the ideas we get from the culture is like, if you're a boss, you got everything is in control.
Everything is under control.
Manage it all, right?
Yeah, right. But the thing about it is what was the fruit of that way of thinking?
Right.
Well, it was people believing because I saw it, that means God has to do it. But God's only committed to do what he spoke.
Yeah.
So if your faith is more in what you see than what he said, then you're right. You can find yourself stressed out. Right. You can find yourself literally trying to build monuments for God that he never wanted to have built.
Never asked for. Right.
Just because it sounds good doesn't mean he wanted to do it. Just because you said God gets all the glory when you got done with it doesn't mean he said to do it. Like you people can say, like,
what's up?
We see that. We see people do that now, right? You're like, just the same way your heart just kind of like, I don't know about that. When like you see like I'm gonna say it this way. When you see like a secular artist, right? And they like they're getting their acceptance speech. They're doing the acceptance speech, and like, I want to give God all the glory for like what he's done. And you're like, did you hear some of your songs?
Right.
Like, I don't know, like, just because you wrapped it up with God gets all the glory, I don't know if he was in all of what you did.
Right.
Like,
I saw the video.
I saw the video.
Right.
I understand what you're trying to do, but I don't think he did it. Like, the same way your stomach turns at that, God's stomach turns when you just come up with ideas that you think will make him look good. That's just about you looking good. Right, just because
you get him the cosign,
trying to give him the cosign, right? My dad says this thing like, you're just pimping the impoverished, right? Like you're feeding people for the photos, not so that they can meet Jesus, right? You're giving so that you can ultimately get a better image about who you are. And then at the end you're saying, but this is all for the glory of God. The same way your stomach turns when that artist does it is the same way God's stomach is turning when you do it. Like, he had nothing to do with that. It was all you. Right? Faith, you just use faith to grow your audience base, right? Like, you knew there's some people that would be attracted to what you do if you said God said it. Right? And God ain't said none of it.
Right. That's good.
And that's why there's no peace.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So while you're just going through this, what I see is it's important for us to value even more is us being in peace, remaining in peace. Us having faith is really about who we're doing it with, knowing that you're doing this with Jesus.
I got to read this, Pastor Lamar.
You got it.
John 15:1, right? Yeah. I am the true grapevine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch of mine that doesn't produce fruit, and he prunes the branches that do bear fruit, so they will produce even more fruit. You have already been pruned and purified by the message I have given you. I love that, right?
Right.
You have already been pruned and purified through the message. I love.
That's good.
I love this. Oh, do we want to go there right now? I love this. Man, this is.
You're
good.
reading that. That makes me think about the point that you made on Sunday about how Christianity has values and principles that teach us how to live anxiety free.
I'm just trying to calculate if I have enough time to unpack this, right? I'm simply saying that, like, this scripture is used to often tell people, like, you know, man, you still got more work to do. But the words of Jesus to his disciples were, you've already been pruned and purified. Right. And I'm saying this because he's setting the tone before they are continuing on. He's letting them know that you are well. And this is important, because if you always think you're broke, you'll respond to how life as though you're broken. But Jesus says, no, you've already been pruned and purified. Go out and be. Right? And understand that, man, there are things that will come your way, but be of good cheer. I've already overcome the world. Don't start to untrain yourself. I love, like, right, you know, it's football season, right? And I'm a Florida State fan, you know, but one of the monikers that our coach uses is trust your training. Trust your training. Trust your training. Why is he saying trust your training? Because there are going to be moments in the game that you're going to think, because you see something, that how you were trained was wrong. And if you don't trust your training, your confidence will go. And so when I see Jesus sitting here, he's like, man, you've already been purified by the message. Trust your training. And a lot of times that's the thought that we have to bring to moments where our peace is being robbed, is trust your training. Like this, trust your training. Stop trying to deconstruct your life because you're facing something adverse. Trust your training. We walk by faith and not by sight. Like, trust your training. You've been well equipped to do now. Trust your training, right? Like, in man, oh man, that's so good, right?
That is good.
But you've already been pure and purified by the message I've given you. Remain in me. That's the only key. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. Like, for a branch cannot produce fruit if it's severed from the vine, and you cannot become fruitless, and you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. Yes, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who remain in me and I in them will produce much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. And so that's my point, right? My point is to say, what was the conversation? My conversation with God was like, hey man, like, I just had this moment of impending danger come. I had this moment of apprehension come. Why? Because I'm like, man, my mind is now calculating that there could be a negative outcome from this event. Well, I have to trust my training. What does my training say? That anything a part of God will bear fruit. If I remain in him, he will remain in me. And so I said, man, God, is this something that's going to bring you glory? Like, is this something that you would do? And so in that, I'm trusting my training, that if I see God in this, then it's like it's the fight against the thoughts. It's the substance now that comes. And I start to look at it and I'm like, yeah, God, I can see you in this. I can see how this is something you want us to do. Like, and as I'm doing it, sustenance is coming, peace is coming, the thoughts of impending danger are vacating. Right? Like, man, some of the things God says to me, like, are so simple but so powerful. I'll never forget when God stopped me one day. He was like, Brian, I want you to think about what our story has been together. And I stopped. Now I'll tell you all the time, this was in a moment where I was already in an incredible place of peace. Like, when you try to reflect in the valley, your filter is already damaged.
Yeah.
You got to reflect on mountaintop. So I was in a mountaintop moment. Everything felt good, living good, eating good. Everything is good. And I'm sitting there and God's like, Brian, who have I been to you? Let's talk about, look back over, reflect back over. What has our story been? What could you say about me and you right now? And I sat there, you know what? He said, you're not that fragile.
Right.
You're not that fragile.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at that moment, Satan was trying to build an argument as though everything was riding on the next decision.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. I'm already 15 decisions past the last time he tried to say that.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. right.
Like, listen, man, you've been saying this for the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
That the next one, if you mess up this one, it's all going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 15 decisions past that one.
Right.
And it still ain't all gone away.
Right.
Matter of fact, I have greater hope today than I had 15 decisions ago when it was supposed to end. I'm not that fragile.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that fragile. We're not that fragile. Trust your training. Right? You have all the wisdom you need for what's in front of you. Trust your training. That's what that means. We're always feeling as though there's something, and I talked about this. Oh man, this was like, last time I preached, that we're always believing that what we need is outside of us.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But that's not trusting your training.
Yeah.
Your training says, "Is greater is He that lives in you."
Right.
So your training says that you've been well equipped by God.
Right.
That every good or beneficial thing God has given to you.
Boom.
Trust your training. Like, it's all in you. Like, anything that's ahead of you, it's already in you. God will not tempt to try you above what you're bare to handle.
Right.
And with it, He'll make a way of escape. Trust your training. You have enough wisdom for what's in front of you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you got it. Like, you already been pruned and purified by the message.
Right. That's good.
Right? Like, you're already good, man.
Yeah.
Like, trust your training. Oh, I love that, man. Like, you just gotta trust
That's a good
it.
word. Yeah.
Right? Because man, when that DB slipped by you and your feet hit the ground and you gotta go back in for the next series, you gotta trust your training. You can't be over there doing like man, my footing is bad, man. Change my cleats. Change my cleats, coach.
Right.
I think it's the field. I think it's the turf. That's what Christians do. They start to question everything instead of trusting their training.
That's good.
And it's like, no, man, get yourself together.
Right.
Right? Like, man, like, bump it, man.
And I know it's only 1 minute and 50 seconds left, but that's the result of us taking control or thinking we have control over our own lives and discounting that He's always at work. He started to work in us, and He's been faithful to continue that
and
work.
I love that, right? Because the first thought most people have when a problem comes their way is there's something I mismanaged.
Right. Right.
What is that? That's a condemning thought.
Yeah.
And so then you start to look for what you mismanaged,
Right.
to try to figure out how you can better manage it instead of just realizing, like, trust your training.
Right.
Like, trust your training. If it hit my doorstep, it's not bigger than me, right? And at the end of the day, even if I managed everything perfectly, I cannot manage everything perfectly. Right, like so it's like, man, like I hate to say it this way, but like, stuff gonna happen. But it's not a sign that you have messed up.
Right.
Like, I just want to make that simple.
That thought comes from thinking that you're responsible for you. When what you would say is that you gave yourself to Jesus, and He started a work in you that He is working till it's done.
Trust the training.
Yeah, that's good.
Like,
that's good. It's preventive care.
We have to stop thinking that everything is an like, and I said like this is what I said. Thank you, God. I said we are so convinced that the key to unlocking our next season is locked in the answer to the problem in our now season.
Yeah.
We are so convinced that the reason why I can't get to my next season is because I don't have the answers to the problems I'm currently seeing. Like, and as long as you believe that you have to have all the answers to the problems you currently see in order to get to your next season, you'll continue rehearsing what God just wants you to move on from. Like you're continuing to try to like
throw the phone, drop the mic, and get that note right there.
Fix it.
That was worth it.
And he's like, move on.
Yeah.
We have greater things are still to come.
That's good.
Like, boss, like every problem doesn't have an answer. And every problem you don't have.
It's not
to
for you to answer.
I got a call from Pastor Nick yesterday, and it was amazing to me. And he put a little post, but it was funny because he said he called me. He said, "Brian, you ain't say nothing." I said, "I don't say nothing when there's nothing to be said."
Right.
And we always, and I'm telling you, the backbone of what's trying to why you can't let it go is you've been. Like some what's that stuff called? I just poured some of the bleach down a little exhaust thing and it started working, right? And so I went and I did that. Why? Because I'm trying to resolve my current problem the way I fixed it in the last season. While I poured the bleach, it still didn't work. Meanwhile, Rashida's telling me the whole time, we just need to call the people and have them come. Well, I'm trying to avoid the call because I know what's wrong. And I know what I did to fix it. Right? Meanwhile, so now I'm changing air filters. Man, now I'm like looking up new thermostat machines. I'm like doing all this research because I'm convinced that I know what's wrong because I know what fixed it the last time.
Right.
And so my thinking is narrowed because I think I know how to fix it based upon how I fixed it last time. Well, guess what? After 3 weeks, no. AC man comes in, right? He comes in, he checks the ACs. He says, man, no, like this thing over here inside of your AC is actually broken. Within 15 minutes, he fixes it and he leaves the house. I asked him how much it cost. $30. You know how much I spent on new AC filters and bleach and how much time I wasted on like the filters? Because what I'm simply saying is the reason why I wasn't open to a new way of moving forward is because I had solved a problem a specific way in a past season, which narrowed my thinking in the present. What am I trying to say? Oftentimes, we're trying to know why it broke. God won't even let us know because it will narrow our vision for the future. Because when we think we know why something is broken,
we think we got back control. Yeah, we think we got back control. That's good.
Yeah.
Who you with?
And you guys like, listen, boss, in every season, the solution is the same. Just remain in me.
That's good.
Like, you over there racking your brain trying to figure out, like, why it went wrong, how to not make it be wrong again. Like, first of all, you're working with people.
Right.
You can't manage them.
Right. Come on, man. Let's go. It's a good day.
Yeah.
It's a good Tuesday.
Yeah, it is.
It's a good Tuesday all day. Enjoy it. We have a great week in front of us. Great weekend in front of us, fellas. Ladies, get your fellas ready. Great weekend. The men's trip to Atlanta. Men's conference. We're looking forward to it. We're excited about it. Help the fellas out. Make sure they make it with everything they need. Amen. Hey, today's Tuesday. As you go through this day, go through it knowing that we love you. God loves you. Keep attending. Keep being most blessed. We'll see you soon.